So how much can I get for a trade? Well, I don't think bananas are worth what you think they're worth. If shopping for a new car drives you bananas, head to Community Auto Group in Mason City. We have the best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. And you know with Community, you're getting a straightforward deal from a straightforward dealer. I'd like to buy this car. No? Seriously? Next time I'll skip the monkey business and go to Community Auto Group.
Dodge that had information because they had just gone through the decision to change over to that. And so I said, well, there's a resource I can use. Staff, Bill, Scott, Kevin met with me, and we had discussions with them, took their information, plugged it into our process and our issues that we have here. And that was the genesis of the information that I presented to you.
Thank you very much. Any comments? Mr. Ricky, go ahead.
I guess I'm not sure how this got on here, but I'm fine with the discussion. I think the discussion is good. I don't think we're in any place where we can move forward doing something like this currently. I do have a few questions, and I broke down some different things. Currently, how much recyclables do you think we pick up as a community? I seen like Fort Dodge showed 30% is what they were picking up. What do we anticipate our usage by the citizens here in Mason City?
I don't have the exact number in front of me, and maybe if somebody knows that, Bill or Scott know, but I know that our number is considerably higher because we are the only option for recycling. I mean, to put it out to the curb is the only option they have. If I had to hazard a guess, I think it's probably in the 60% range that gets actually recycled. It may be higher. I know there are a few items that we don't take because Mason City Recycling doesn't have a market for them, and so it would cost to try and take those, and so we don't do those.
Okay.
I'd have to do some number crunching to figure out.
And I know reading through here yesterday, you were supposed to have a meeting with city employees.
Yes.
Did you have that? Did
Yes.
you have any, you said they would have ideas, comments, anything you can tell us council members as a result of that meeting?
Well, from the discussion that we had, they didn't bring up any new ideas as far as how to do it differently. Specifically, went through the process relative to discussion the last item, which is doing large item pickup at the end of the day, every day, and allowing appointments to be set up. We had some discussion regarding doing that. They said they would work with the city to do that. They did want to look at the decision whether or not extra compensation should come from that. But based off of the timeline that they're at to complete that, I don't know if that's necessary.
Okay. And to be honest with you, I don't know whose idea it was, but I thought it was a great idea with the large item pickup as far as the city, as that goes. One thing when I went through these 9 pages on here, I never seen what a cost of a current sanitation truck that we utilize is.
Current sanitation trucks are 125,000 or so.
With trade-in, they're usually running right about 95 to 100,000.
For a brand new one.
Yeah,
For a double expense.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, double. And the recycling trucks are in the 150,000 range.
Yeah, the recycling trucks are actually budgeted for 150, packers are budgeted for 125. Usually our trucks are in pretty high demand because we take pretty good care of them for trade-in, so we get top trade-in value for them. But the chassis market's forever changing, and you never know if there's a air adjustment or some other kind of adjustment that's gonna add to the cost of the chassis, so we try to budget as close as we can to break even to give ourselves $5,000 to $7,000 worth of wiggle room.
Okay. Well, again, I don't think we're in any position to move forward on this. Like I said, I'm fine with the discussion. Just some items for food for thought that I have, because this could be something in the future, whether councils change, whatever. But what I was looking at on this, as far as, I kind of broke it down from efficiency standpoints. Fort Dodge says that they're gonna get 130 stops per hour off of their truck. We're getting roughly around 200 stops per hour off of our trucks. So really, when you break that down, you've got 2 drivers at 200 stops per hour, they're averaging 100. So efficiency-wise, even though it doesn't show it would be better, in the long run, it probably is better. One thing that intrigued me, you have 64-gallon containers. Currently, we pick up, what is it, 30?
Yes, 30, it's 33, it's 30.
33, 50 mile limit.
So I think for people that are large usage customers, that would benefit them, the ones that are using dollars and things,
Right,
the
yeah,
stickers.
so extra bags.
The 96-gallon recyclable bins, I thought could be a nice option too, but, again, this is all stuff down in the future. One thing I seen on here too was we talked about Des Moines and transporting recyclables down to them. Would there be a way, instead of, say in the future, again, whatever, 5, 10 years down the road, if this was the direction future councils or whoever decided to do, would there be an option possibly to, instead of taking that to Des Moines, we currently use Mason City Recycling? Would there be an option with them? Possibly.
I think there is, and I'm sure that we have that discussion, but it would require a change in, because of the bin being, it's a single source, and you have to do, you dump it all in and you sort it as you go, would require an investment on equipment and so forth for them to be able to do it efficiently. And so we would need to meet with them and determine what that contract looks like by going to the commingled recycling process would require different equipment. So it would simply be a negotiation with them as to the potential possibility of that.
And my last comment would be basically, if this is something, and this is just me, if something we were gonna do for the future, I wouldn't wanna see us bond out for this personally. I would like to see, we talked about maybe $1 increase and then fund it over a 5-6 year period. And then you got this costs of your truck already that we're currently at $125,000. I think there's ways that you could then fund for it for future, but again, I don't think we're here, and there'd have to be a lot more further discussions down the road.
Sure.
To think about doing that.
Well, it's important to know where you're at with that, so that if we do future budgets, if there starts to be some reasons to want to change, that we're bringing it to years ahead, so that you're able to build that into the right decision to make budget time.
Sure. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Mr. Tronquist?
Yeah,
Mr. Tronquist, go ahead.
sure. Mostly compliments. I think you did an outstanding job of writing a very good memo, and it made it very easy to understand what we're doing and what the potential changes and what the cost implications are. And I was looking at it strictly from a cost implication at this point in the process. And you made it very easy to see very quickly that this may make sense for other communities, but there's no way it makes sense for Mason City now. And quite honestly, I don't see how it ever could make sense for Mason City. And I would agree with Councilman Hickey. I would not be an advocate of bonding. Part of the problem with bonding with something like this is by the time we've paid off the bonds, we've used up the useful life of the assets, and we're turning around and we're bonding again. And it is akin to borrowing money to pay for groceries. You're paying for expendables, and at the end of the day, you don't have a whole lot to show for what you've bonded for. And so I would be concerned, it's different than bonding for infrastructure like overpasses and things like that. So I agree with that completely. One of the points that I wanted to reiterate, and you touched on it at the very beginning of what you said, but I think it's important for everybody to hear. This idea, this whole exercise did not come from the council. And to my knowledge, there's never been a council person that's advocated on behalf of making a change. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
But I commend you for looking into this the way that you have, because that's your job. It's all of our job to continually look to make sure that we're getting the best bang for the taxpayer buck, and the only way we can do that is to get hard facts. And the only way we can get hard facts is to do research, and you have put us in a position to make a fact-based decision rather than making an emotional or a gut decision. And I commend you for that. I also want to compliment all the city workers. When we went through the exercise 8-9 months ago and looking into the competitive bid process for sanitation services, I got lots of phone calls and lots of discussions. And on this topic, I didn't get a one from a sanitation worker, and that tells me one of two things. Maybe it's a combination of both. Either you trust us a little bit after what we went through last year, which I hope, or you too read the backup memo and see that it just doesn't make financial sense. And so there was really no point in getting our shorts all up in a bind. I did have a few constituents in the community that got pretty bent out of shape, but again, they're drawing conclusions based on erroneous assumptions rather than asking us what we think. They jump to conclusions, and that's unfortunate. I think in a community of 29,000, if we've only got 4 people that are going nuts on us on something like this, that's not all bad. So I think you did a good job. I encourage you to keep doing this kind of thing because that's what we need to do to be responsible and responsive to the taxpayers. And I don't see a need beyond today for us to talk about this anymore.
Hey, Mr. Tronquist, Mr. Marinas, I believe I saw that.
Yes, thank you. Well,
You bet.
I was going to say basically what Scott was talking about in the fact that it's part of our job and your job to take a look at the options that are out there, and this was an option. And you did a marvelous job, I agree, on the memo, as putting it together and laying it out there for us. I would not be in favor of bonding for it either. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but you still gotta keep looking at it every once in a while to make sure it doesn't get broke. So we need to do this type of exercise regularly, I think. And I'm just pleased, I mean, as you said, I don't think we need to look at it again.
Anybody else? Miss Sullivan?
I would like to thank you for your work on this as well. Can you refresh my memory here on this $19,000 per year that we pay for recycling? It's for items that we have to take out to Mason City Recycling?
Right, we take our items to Mason City Recycling, and a number of the items that we take there, they pay, based on the market that's out there, we receive basically a credit for having taken it to them, they pay us a certain amount. But there are items that are not covered, or there's no real market, they're actually disposing of them. In other words, what the cost is, and so there's a fee that we've negotiated with them. And it varies, Bill, doesn't it vary from month to month based on actual amount?
It actually depends on what's going on in the commodity market. It jumps all over, and individual commodities have different pricing values. It depends on what's going on in the market on a national level. So, actually the program probably is running less than the 19,000. It's probably in the $9,000 to $10,000 range on an annual basis right now because some of the commodities are higher demand. But that could change 2-3 days from now too. So it's kind of a guessing game.
Does that help?
I brought this up to you previously. We just really don't have any method to recycle in downtown. We get so many dumpsters out there. I mean, if every business has to have a dumpster, I mean, our alleyways are just going to be full. Any way to get any sort of recycling container downtown somewhere, in a city parking lot, something, so that we could have the downtown, people who work downtown or the downtown businesses put their items in this and then have the city come and pick it up? Is it not their responsibility? I mean, what can we do?
And we did, for a while, we were spoiled from the standpoint of Waste Management had a facility downtown, or close to downtown, just off downtown, and a lot of people utilized that. And it wasn't working for them financially, so they removed it. And we had some discussions when they removed it about potentially putting one downtown, but the cost and expense at the time made the decision not to do that. If the demand is there, I think that's where we need to decide if we have we would need to, more likely it would be something that we would own, we have to purchase and then find a location, and that's the other thing that we have to really struggle with, is finding the right location to place a recycling bin such as this that provides access, but also we have some oversight, that we don't have trash getting thrown in there and that type of thing that won't necessarily prevent it, but that type of maintenance is required for something like a standalone recycling location. So I guess my answer is I think it's something that we can look into, and I still have it on the list for when we talk.
If we just kind of keep it on the radar or whatever, because I know that a lot of things get taken out to the landfill that really shouldn't be out there, but we just don't, unless we take it home with us. I mean, we have vans full, some people down here would have vans full to take it home and put it in recycling bins. But, yeah, just as a follow-up, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solberg. Anybody else? Ms. King?
Thank you, Mayor. This would dramatically increase rates, cut jobs, and potentially affect a very good service we have, so I clearly have no interest in it. Appreciate the work. But just a couple of comments from a different angle, and I think all you guys know where I stand on the issue. When people talk about looking at this 5-10 years down the road, in the memo it talks about not having the discussion with the city workers until last night. If we're gonna do this, my recommendation would be, excuse me, not looking at doing this, but if we're looking at any internal changes, process excellence, lean, let's have their input up front, the people with the boots on the ground that are doing this. That's where a lot of the best ideas come from. And I think our sanitation department is pretty lean and mean where we're at now, and we have great rates and great service. Two other comments just from the service side. Out of college, I lived in a community, Windsor Heights, kind of stuck in there between Des Moines and West Des Moines, and they had these, they had the single arm pickup, and it's an elderly community. It's much like Mason City, it's aging in population. I think the other things you have to look at are an 85-year-old woman living by herself that has to drag that tote up to the curb, not being able to put it in her alley. There's another side to that story, and those are things we would hear in that community all the time that was a negative side of it. And also the fact of the person that puts out one small bag every week, we're paying for, we potentially would be paying for a large increase. We would be subsidizing other people's garbage that are filling those up when they're not using it. So just other downsides, but I think it's, we close the book on this, and if we do decide ever to look at it again, that they're involved up front. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Mr. Lee?
Just kind of what Mr. Kuhn said, but we do subsidize a little bit just because I have my highlight here. So Mason City does not charge for pickup of yard waste. Well, we do, because we gotta pay for it, and it's built into the 960. There are people who put out 120, 150 yard bags twice a fall, and there's some people who never do it. And so those people who never do it are paying, the cost, so it happens. And so, but, somebody actually called me about the yard waste, and that's how it even came on my radar, where someone says, I don't have trees, I never pay for it, but yet there's people with R20 and I'm in a way paying for that. And I was like, well, I guess you're right. As of now, most people love the idea that we're not paying for it per bag post, the $9.60. But it is something that someone brought to my attention, and just because what you said, it kind of made me out of it. But yeah, not to be redundant, this is dead in the water, and you did a great job, and honestly, that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Yeah, Mr. Pollock, go
I
ahead.
just want to touch on the landfill here quickly. I think I like your idea at face value about trying to create a singular drop-off point for recycling for the downtown community. I like it at face value, and if we were to pursue any kind of changes in either recycling or trash, we need to make Bill Rowland part of that discussion. The rates that were charged by the DNR are indexed to how much we're able to divert from the landfill to recycling programs. One of the concerns that, had we been talking about this even more, and both of you guys have alluded to it, if we went to larger containers, by default, we could be making it easier for people to divert more trash to the landfill, which is counterintuitive. It uses up our landfill resource a little bit faster, and we all pay for that. We pay for it from DNR charges on a yearly basis, and then we pay for it as we use up capacity and have to start increasing rates to put new cells in. So I think it's important, whether we're talking about trash or whether we're talking about recycling, that we have Bill at the table with us as a partner, so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and we're able to look at this holistically.
Good. Anything else? All right.
Comments, and we'll continue to try and do this. Staff was very helpful creating the various parts you see here. And one of the things that we're going to look at now is we've been holding off on hiring and refilling those sanitation positions because we needed to do, I wanted to do this research to determine whether or not we're headed back into the time frame where we need to have 3 trucks out there. And so we'll be probably looking at bringing forward to you approval of hiring those 2 back. We were able to work through the winter without it. The guys made it work, but there are significant fines in labor force if we don't go move forward with those. So likely see something on the agenda soon, reference to those hirings.
Well, just to close out, first of all, good comments. Go ahead,
Just
Mr.
one
Reese.
last thing, you
Yeah.
are gonna move forward with doing a large item pickup.
That's what I
and-
was
Yes, my intention
We've
is
gotten
to
a
do
lot of
that. I
positive
think that
feedback.
it's a way to provide excellent customer service. It provides the opportunity for people to get things out of their home, out of their backyard much sooner than they might otherwise, instead of waiting for one time a year for that kind of a pickup. I think it's gonna be an increase in service that will get value. I mean, we did the 10-cent increase, and we're gonna get something of value added back into that now with being able to do it. Everybody will still have to pay for each item like we have in the past, but I think that it's a system change that will be beneficial to everyone.
Good, glad to hear that.
Yeah, but yeah, not everyone has a truck or a trailer to drag it out, so people will appreciate that. There's been a lot of positive feedback about that, so. Just to close it down, we have great staff, thank you very much, good discussion. You guys have done a great job. Obviously, these types of things can, raise some hackles as you go, but it's a healthy process and, to go through, and we need to go through it, because we wanna be able to look our taxpayers in the eye and tell them we're getting the best bang for their buck. And I think that we as a group very much can do that, and we've done it with your help, so thank you very kindly. And you guys, feel free to, you can, go, don't worry about interrupting the rest of the meeting, so.